black rideshare driver picked up a regular man at 2 a.m. Until she saw the message on his phone, Keisha Turner didn't like the airport runs at night. Not because of the distance, not even because the roads were emptier and the streetlights made everything feel colder. She didn't like them because the wrong kind of money lived around private terminals. The kind that smiled while it lied. The kind that expected you to be invisible. Still, when the request came through at 2:07 a.m., with a tip that looked like a mistake, Keisha took it. Because rent didn't care about her instincts. Because her mom's medication didn't care about fear. And because, lately, Keisha had been counting coins like prayers. Pickup location, a private terminal on the edge of the city. Passenger, A. Vale. No profile photo, no notes. Just one thing that made her pause. The ride had been paid in full, up front, and the amount was enough to change someone's month. Keisha pulled up under the yellow glow of a security light and waited. Rain tapped lightly on her windscreen. A guard at the gate glanced at her plate and waved her through without asking questions. That alone felt wrong. She parked near the entrance and checked her mirror. The terminal doors slid open. A man stepped out. Tall, dark coat, hair slightly messy like he'd run his hands through it too many times. He moved fast, but not like he was drunk. Like he was holding himself together by force. He looked around, scanning the car park. Then his eyes locked on her vehicle. He walked straight to the passenger side, yanked the door open, and got in. Keisha flinched. He didn't apologize. He didn't smile. He just looked at her and said, "Drive." Keisha's stomach tightened. "Sir," she said carefully, "I need to confirm the name on the ride." His jaw clenched. "A. Vale," he said. Keisha nodded slowly. "All right. Where to?" The man exhaled like the question irritated him. "Not the address in the app," he said. Keisha's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "That's not how this works." He turned toward her fully, eyes intense. "If you take me there," he said quietly, "you're putting me in danger." Keisha stared at him. Then she saw his hands. They were shaking, not from cold, from adrenaline. Keisha glanced to the mirror again and noticed something that made her blood turn to ice. A black SUV was parked 2 lanes back. Engine running, headlights off, just sitting there like it had been waiting. Keisha looked back at the man in her passenger seat. "Who are you?" she whispered. He swallowed hard. Then he said a name she recognized instantly. Not because she knew him personally, because the whole world did. "Adrian Vale," he said. Keisha's mouth went dry. The billionaire CEO, the man whose face was on skyscrapers and business pages and glossy magazines and checkout lines. The man people said owned half the city without ever needing to shout. Keisha's phone buzzed. A text notification popped on her screen, briefly lighting the dashboard. And in that half-second glow, she saw it. A message from an unknown number. Not to her, to him. 3 words. "End the driver." Keisha froze. Adrian's eyes flicked to her phone. His face drained. And then he whispered the sentence that turned her fear into something sharper. "Whatever you do," he said, "don't let them see you panic." Keisha didn't scream. She didn't slam the brakes. She didn't do anything dramatic. Because she'd learned something about danger a long time ago. The moment you look scared is the moment someone decides they can control you. So Keisha forced her voice steady. "Seatbelt," she said. Adrian blinked, then fumbled for it. Keisha put the car in drive like she'd done 1,000 times and rolled out of the terminal slowly, like nothing was wrong. In the mirror, the black SUV eased forward, following. Keisha's heart hammered, but her face stayed calm. She reached for the indicator and turned right at the first exit, not the route the app suggested. Adrian watched her hands. "You're not calling the police?" he asked, voice low. Keisha let out a humorless breath. "You think the police don't know who you are?" Adrian didn't answer. That was answer enough. Keisha kept driving, taking back roads, cutting through quieter streets where cameras were fewer and traffic lights stayed red too long. The SUV stayed behind them, never too close, never too far. Professional. Keisha's mouth went tight. Who are they? She asked. Adrian stared out the window, rain streaking across the glass like tears. My security team, he said. Keisha's stomach flipped. Your security team just texted you, and the driver? Adrian's jaw flexed. Not all of them, he said. Just the ones who switched sides. Keisha glanced at him. Switched to who? Adrian's voice dropped. My brother. Keisha felt something settle in her chest. A cold understanding. Money didn't just buy cars and houses. Money bought betrayal. Adrian's phone buzzed again. He didn't touch it. Keisha didn't either. But she could feel the pressure of it like a gun on the table. Why are you running? She asked. Adrian swallowed. Because I was about to expose something, he said, and they decided I wouldn't make it to morning. Keisha's fingers tightened. And now I'm in it. Adrian turned to her. I'm sorry, he said, and for the first time his voice sounded human. I tried not to involve anyone. Keisha gave a short, bitter laugh. That went well. The SUV closed distance slightly. Keisha took a sharp left into a petrol station that was still open, pulled up to a pump, and turned off the engine. Adrian stared at her. What are you doing? Keisha kept her voice level. Act normal, she said. If they think we're spooked, they'll move. She stepped out of the car and started pumping fuel she didn't need. Rain hit her face, cold, stinging. She glanced through the petrol station's glass and saw the SUV roll in slowly, stopping near the edge of the lot. Two silhouettes inside, watching. Keisha finished pumping, got back in, and pulled away. Adrian stared at her like he'd forgotten drivers could be smart. What's your name? He asked. Keisha didn't look at him. Keisha. Adrian nodded once. Keisha, thank you. Keisha's laugh was sharp. Don't thank me yet, she said. Tell me where we're going. Adrian hesitated. Anywhere but my penthouse, he said. Anywhere but my office. Anywhere with cameras that aren't mine. Keisha thought fast. Then she said the only place she could think of where people came and went all night, and nobody asked questions. A 24-hour diner, she said. Adrian blinked. A diner? Keisha nodded. People like you never go there, she said, which means nobody expects you. Adrian's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Okay, he said quietly. A diner. Keisha turned onto a main road. The SUV followed. But now Keisha had a plan. She wasn't going to outrun them. She was going to outthink them. The diner sat on the corner of an industrial stretch where warehouses slept behind chain-link fences. It wasn't pretty, but it was open, and it was busy. Truck drivers, night shift nurses, students half asleep over coffee. Keisha parked under a flickering light and turned to Adrian. Listen to me, she said. When we go in, you don't act like a billionaire. Adrian stared. How do I act? Keisha looked him over. Like a man who's tired, she said. That part shouldn't be hard. Adrian exhaled, then nodded. They stepped into the diner. Warm air hit Keisha's face. The smell of fried food, coffee, and old vinyl booths. A waitress glanced up and did a double-take. Not because she recognized him, because he looked like trouble. Keisha led him to a booth at the back. They sat. Adrian's eyes kept flicking toward the door. Keisha watched him. For all his money, he looked like he'd never felt safe a day in his life. The waitress came over. What can I get you? She asked Keisha, friendly. Then her gaze slid to Adrian and hesitated slightly. Adrian forced a calm smile. Coffee, he said. Keisha ordered two. When the waitress left, Keisha leaned forward. Now, she said. Explain. Adrian looked down at the table. My brother and I own Vale Meridian, he said. Keisha's brows lifted. The tech company. Adrian nodded. Publicly, he said. It's clean. Philanthropy, education grants, big speeches about opportunity. Keisha didn't speak. She'd heard of companies like that, the ones who told you to dream while they quietly tightened the ropes. Adrian's voice lowered. Privately, he said, there's a second stream of money. Contracts, shell companies, a data harvesting program we shouldn't have built. Keisha's stomach tightened. And you built it? Adrian's face tightened with shame. I didn't, he said, but I signed off on things I should have questioned. I trusted the wrong people. Keisha held his gaze. That includes your brother, she said. Adrian's jaw flexed. Yes, Keisha exhaled. So why run now? Adrian's eyes sharpened. Because I found out they were targeting specific communities, he said, selling predictive profiles, insurance, employment screening, policing contracts. Keisha went still. That's illegal, she said. Adrian nodded. And disgusting, he added quietly. Keisha stared at him, anger rising. So people's lives got ruined because your company decided profit mattered more than privacy. Adrian took it. He didn't flinch. You're right, he said, and I'm trying to stop it. Keisha's voice was cold. By dragging a rideshare driver into your mess? Adrian's eyes flicked up. That wasn't the plan, he said. My assistant booked the ride. I didn't know it would be you. I thought I'd get to my own safe house. Keisha's jaw tightened. Why couldn't you? Why couldn't you? Adrian's face hardened. Because the safe house isn't safe anymore. Keisha's phone buzzed again. Another message popped up. This time it was on her number. Unknown, one sentence. We know where you are. Keisha's breath caught. Adrian saw it. His eyes went wide. Keisha, he whispered. Keisha looked toward the window. The black SUV was now parked across the street, still, watching. Keisha's mouth went dry. They weren't just following Adrian anymore. They were following her. Keisha's mind raced. Then she made a decision that surprised even herself. She stood up. Adrian grabbed her wrist lightly. What are you doing? He asked. Keisha leaned in, voice low. I'm not dying in a diner, she said. We're leaving. Back exit. Adrian nodded fast. They slid out the booth, walked calmly past the counter, and pushed through the kitchen door like they belonged. The cook started to protest. Then Keisha flashed him a look that said, please, and he looked away. They slipped out the back door into the alley. Rain hit them again, cold and loud. Keisha's car was out front, but the alley led to a side road. Keisha grabbed Adrian's sleeve. This way, she said. They ran, not far, just enough. They cut around the building, through a narrow gap, and emerged on a street lined with delivery vans. Keisha spotted her chance. A large van was parked with its back doors open, driver unloading. Keisha approached fast. Sir, she said, breathless, please, I'll pay you. I need a lift to the next block. The driver stared at her. Then he saw Adrian. He didn't recognize him, but he recognized trouble. He hesitated. Keisha pulled out cash. The driver took one look at the bills and nodded. Get in, he said. They climbed into the back. Boxes rattled. The van pulled away. Keisha exhaled shakily. Adrian looked at her in the dim light, rainwater dripping from his hair. Why are you helping me? He asked. Keisha swallowed. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe because I hate bullies. Maybe because I've seen what powerful people do when they think nobody can stop them. Adrian stared. Then he said softly, You're brave. Keisha gave a short laugh. I'm broke, she said. That's not the same thing. Adrian's mouth twitched slightly. Then his expression sobered again. Keisha, he said, if you keep helping me, they'll come for you harder. Keisha looked him dead in the eye. Then you'd better make it worth it, she said. Tell me how this ends. Adrian's voice dropped. It ends, he said, with my brother in handcuffs. Keisha nodded once. Good, she said, because that's the only ending I'm interested in. The delivery driver dropped them 2 blocks away, near a 24-hour car wash. Keisha thanked him and handed him more cash than she could afford. When he left, she turned to Adrian. We need somewhere you can talk, she said. Somewhere quiet. Adrian hesitated. Then he said, I know a place, but we can't take any car. Keisha frowned. What do you mean? Adrian looked at her car. It's tracked now, he said. They can follow the ride app's location history. They can pull CCTV of your plate. They can use my phone's proximity. Keisha's stomach dropped. Then what do we do? Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out something she didn't expect, an old key. No fob, he said. No tracker, Just a key. Keisha stared. What's that for? Adrian looked away slightly. My first car, he said. I keep it in a storage unit. Nobody knows. Keisha blinked. A billionaire has a secret car in storage. Adrian gave a faint, humorless smile. A billionaire has a lot of secrets, he said. They walked, keeping to side streets, until they reached a row of storage units behind a high fence. Adrian entered a code. The gate slid open. They moved quickly to a unit near the back. Adrian unlocked it. The door rolled up. Inside sat an older saloon car under a dusty cover. Adrian pulled the cover off. Keisha stared. It wasn't fancy. It was normal. Adrian ran a hand over the bonnet like it was a memory. I learned to drive in this, he said quietly. Keisha looked at him. For the first time, he didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like a man who missed being someone simple. They got in. The car started after a hesitant cough, like it was waking up. Adrian drove. Keisha watched him. His hands were steady now. He knew where he was going. They drove to a small flat above a closed bakery. Adrian parked behind the building and led Keisha up a narrow staircase. Inside the flat, it was basic, clean but not luxurious. A sofa, a table, 2 chairs. Keisha blinked. This is your place, Adrian nodded. My mother's place, he said. Before she died, I kept it, paid for it quietly. Nobody from the company comes here. Keisha's throat tightened. Adrian turned on a lamp. Warm light filled the room. He sat down heavily, like the adrenaline finally crashed. Keisha stood, arms crossed. Now talk, she said. What do you have that's worth all this? Adrian reached into his coat and pulled out a small black USB drive. This, he said. Keisha stared at it like it was radioactive. What is it? Adrian's voice was steady. Everything, he said. Contracts, names, payment trails, the program, the dates, the communications. Keisha swallowed. And you were going to give this to the police? Adrian laughed, bitter. The police, he said. No, not first. Keisha frowned. Why not? Adrian looked her in the eye. Because my brother owns people, he said. He donates to campaigns. He pays for favors. He buries things. Keisha's stomach twisted. So, who do you give it to? Adrian hesitated. An investigator, he said. A federal one. She's clean. She's been building a case for a year. Keisha nodded slowly. And why hasn't she arrested him already? Adrian looked down at the USB. Because she needs me, he said. The CEO, the face, the one who can confirm it's real. Keisha's heart pounded. So you're the key. Adrian nodded. And now, he said, I'm the target. Keisha exhaled slowly. She looked around the small flat. Then she said something that surprised her. If you'd told me you were a billionaire, I wouldn't have helped you. Adrian looked up sharply. Keisha's voice was honest. I'd think you had people, she said. Bodyguards, lawyers, escape plans. You'd be fine. Adrian's jaw tightened. And now, Keisha met his gaze. Now I can see you're just a man, she said. A man who's scared. A man who's trying to fix something he helped create. Adrian stared at her, something soft flickering in his expression. Keisha, he said quietly, I don't deserve your help. Keisha nodded. I know, she said. Then she added, voice low, but I might still give it. They didn't sleep, not properly. Keisha sat on the sofa, shoes still on, phone in her hand, staring at nothing. Adrian sat at the table, laptop open, reviewing files, jaw tight. As dawn crept in, Adrian finally spoke. I need to call her, he said. Who? Keisha asked. The investigator, he replied. We meet today. Keisha frowned. Today? Adrian nodded. Before my brother figures out where I've gone. Keisha's stomach tightened. He already knows about me, she said. Adrian's gaze sharpened. I saw the text, Keisha said. They threatened me. Adrian's face hardened. I'm sorry, he said again, but this time it sounded like anger. Not at Keisha, at himself. Keisha leaned forward. Adrian, she said, tell me the truth. How did they get my number? Adrian went still, then he said the thing she didn't want to hear. Because they have access to everything, he said quietly. My brother built a team that monitors communications. If your phone pinged mine, if the ride was booked through his network, if the terminal cameras caught your plate, you were visible. Keisha felt nausea rise. So I'm a mark now, she whispered. Adrian nodded. Keisha stared at him. Then you owe me protection, she said. Not thanks. Protection. Adrian's eyes were steady. You're right, he said. He pushed a piece of paper across the table. An address. A safe apartment, he said. Under a name my brother won't trace. I'll get you there after I meet her. Keisha stared. What about you? Adrian's voice was calm. I'll end this, he said. Keisha didn't like how he said it, like he didn't expect to survive. She opened her mouth to argue when a knock hit the door downstairs. Not a polite knock, a heavy one. Keisha froze. Adrian's eyes snapped up. Another knock. Then a voice. Police, open up. Keisha's blood ran cold. Adrian didn't move. He whispered, They found us. Keisha stood slowly, mind racing. We didn't do anything, she whispered. Adrian's voice was low. My brother doesn't need you to do anything, he said. He just needs you silenced. The knock came again, harder. Keisha looked around the room. Back window. Fire escape. Adrian grabbed the USB, shoved it into his pocket. Keisha, he said, voice urgent. Listen to me. If they take me, you take this. Keisha shook her head. No, she whispered. We go together. Adrian stepped closer. His eyes were intense but not cold. If we go together, he said, we both lose. Keisha's throat tightened. Stop talking like you're leaving, she snapped. Another knock. Then the sound of the door downstairs cracking. Keisha's panic surged. Adrian took her hand briefly, warm, steady. Keisha, he said, you have to trust me. Keisha's eyes burned. I don't even know you, she whispered. Adrian held her gaze. Yes, you do, he said quietly. You know who I am when nobody's watching. That's why this matters. Then he pushed the USB into her palm. And before Keisha could argue, Adrian moved fast. Stepped into the hallway, calling out, I'm coming! Keisha's heart shattered. She watched him walk toward the stairs like he'd decided. Then the world exploded into noise. Boots, shouts, hands grabbing. Keisha backed toward the window. She saw Adrian get dragged down the stairs, and as he disappeared, he looked back once. Not at the men, at her. And he mouthed one word. Run! Keisha climbed out the window, heart in her throat, and dropped onto the fire escape. Rain hit her face again. She ran down the metal stairs, feet slipping, hands gripping cold rails. She hit the alley and sprinted. She didn't stop until she reached the main road, breath burning, lungs screaming. Only then did she pull the USB out, staring at it like it was now her heartbeat. Her phone buzzed. A new text, unknown number. This is your last chance. Hand it over. Keisha's hands shook. She looked at the gray dawn sky and realized something that made her chest go tight. This wasn't Adrian's fight anymore. It was hers too. Keisha didn't go home. She didn't go to the police. She went somewhere she trusted. A community legal clinic where she'd once helped her mom fill out forms. A place where people still believed in the idea of right and wrong. She walked in shaking, asked for the director. A woman named Marisol Grant, mid-40s, sharp eyes, calm voice. Marisol listened quietly as Keisha explained everything, leaving out nothing, even the parts that made her feel stupid. When Keisha finished, Marisol leaned back. You're telling me you have evidence that Vale Meridian is running illegal surveillance contracts, she said. Keisha nodded, throat tight. And that the CEO has been kidnapped by his own people, Marisol added. Keisha swallowed. Yes. Marisol stared at her for a long beat. Then she stood. All right, she said. We do this properly. Keisha frowned. How? Marisol picked up her phone. We don't walk into a police station, she said. We call someone I trust. Keisha's heart pounded. Marisol made a call, spoke quietly, then looked at Keisha. Federal investigator, she said. Clean, Serious. She's on her way. Keisha exhaled shakily. For the first time since 2 a.m., she felt a thread of safety. An hour later, 2 unmarked cars pulled up behind the clinic. A woman stepped out, mid-30s, focused, no nonsense. Agent Priya Shah, she introduced herself. Keisha handed over the USB with trembling fingers. Priya took it carefully, like it was a live grenade. She looked at Keisha. "Where's Adrian Vale?" she asked. Keisha's eyes burned. "They took him," she whispered. Priya's jaw tightened. "Who is they?" she asked. Keisha swallowed. "His brother," she said. "Gavin Vale." Priya nodded once. "Okay," she said. "Then today gets loud." Keisha didn't understand until Priya explained the plan. They weren't going to quietly negotiate. They were going to force daylight onto everything. A warrant, a raid, a press hold, a board emergency meeting. They were going to corner Gavin Vale where he cared most, in public. Keisha sat in a small room at the clinic as Priya and her team began moving. Phones ringing, names spoken, steps taken. Keisha stared at the wall, heart racing, wondering if Adrian was alive. Then, late afternoon, Priya returned. Her expression was tight. "They're holding him at a private facility," Priya said. "Not a jail, not official." Keisha's stomach dropped. "Then go get him," she pleaded. Priya nodded. "We are," Keisha swallowed. "And if they kill him?" she whispered. Priya's gaze sharpened. "Then they sign their own sentence," she said. "But I don't think they will." Keisha frowned. "Why not?" Priya's voice stayed calm. "Because Gavin Vale doesn't want Adrian dead," she said. "He wants Adrian discredited." Keisha's chest tightened. "So he wants him alive enough to destroy him." Priya nodded. Keisha's hands clenched. "Then what happens to me?" she asked, voice small. Priya looked at her. "You did the brave part," she said. "Now, you let us do ours." Keisha wanted to believe her. But Keisha had lived long enough to know brave didn't always get rewarded. Sometimes, brave got buried. That evening, Priya's team moved. The next morning, the news broke. Not about Adrian, about Vale Meridian. Federal investigation opened into major tech firm. Whistleblower evidence sparks immediate board action. Keisha watched the headlines with numb fingers. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Marisol. "They found him." Keisha's breath caught. "Alive," Marisol added. Keisha collapsed into the chair, tears spilling before she could stop them. But relief didn't last, because the next headline hit 10 minutes later. CEO Adrian Vale to appear at emergency board meeting today. Keisha stared at the screen. Appear? How could he appear if he'd been taken? Then she understood. They weren't just rescuing Adrian. They were using him as the match to burn the whole room down. The board meeting was streamed live. Not because Vale Meridian believed in transparency, because Priya forced it, because once you put corruption in daylight, it couldn't hide as easily. Keisha sat in the clinic, staring at the screen, hands shaking. A sleek conference room, a long table, executives in suits. And at the head, Gavin Vale, smiling too calmly. He looked like a man who believed he'd already won. Then the door opened. Adrian walked in. No hoodie, no disguise. A simple dark suit, face pale, eyes sharp. He looked like he'd been through hell, but he stood tall. The room shifted. Gavin's smile tightened. "Brother," Gavin said warmly, "we were worried." Adrian stared at him. "You weren't worried," Adrian said quietly. "You were celebrating." Gavin laughed lightly. "Come on, let's not make this emotional." Adrian stepped forward and placed a folder on the table. Then he looked straight into the camera, into the world, and he said, "I'm going to tell the truth." The room went still. Gavin's smile didn't move, but his eyes hardened. Adrian continued. "For the past 2 years," he said, "Vale Meridian has been running contracts that violate privacy law, civil rights protections, and basic human decency." Gavin leaned back. "Allegations." Adrian didn't even look at him. "Not allegations," Adrian said. "Facts." He opened the folder. Then he said the sentence that made Keisha's throat tighten. And the reason I'm alive to say this is because a woman named Keisha Turner refused to be bought or threatened. Keisha froze. Her name. On a live stream. Adrian looked into the camera again. Keisha was a rideshare driver, he said. She didn't owe me anything. She helped anyway. And for that, she was targeted. Gavin's jaw tightened. Adrian turned to him. You authorized a threat against her, Adrian said calmly. I have the message, Gavin laughed. Prove it. Adrian nodded slightly. Gladly. Priya Shah appeared in the room, stepping into frame like a blade. She placed a warrant on the table. Then officers moved in behind her. Gavin's smile cracked. Hold on, he snapped. This is corporate. You can't just... Priya's voice was flat. It stopped being corporate when you started kidnapping people, she said. Gavin stood up fast. This is a setup, he shouted. Adrian is unstable. Adrian cut him off. No, he said quietly. You're just exposed. Gavin's eyes flared. He looked around the room, searching for allies, but nobody wanted to be seen standing with a sinking ship. Adrian watched him. Tell them why, Adrian said. Tell them why you tried to remove me. Gavin's voice rose. Because you were going to destroy everything we built, he snapped. Adrian nodded slowly. Everything you built, Adrian repeated. Then he turned to the camera. My brother didn't build this company, Adrian said. He bought influence and bullied compliance. He used fear. He used people like tools. Keisha's chest tightened. Adrian's eyes hardened. And last night, Adrian continued, he proved it. Gavin lunged forward. Officers restrained him. Gavin shouted, This is my company. Adrian's voice stayed quiet. No, he said. It was never yours. Gavin was dragged out. The stream continued. Adrian stood alone at the head of the table, breathing hard. Then he said something that made the room shift again. Effective immediately, he said. I'm stepping down as CEO. The board erupted. Adrian raised a hand. I'm stepping down, he repeated, because I signed off on things I should have stopped. I won't ask the public to trust me while I rebuild trust in myself. He looked into the camera again. And I'm not leaving quietly, he added. I'm staying to testify. Keisha covered her mouth, tears falling. Adrian continued. And Keisha Turner, he said, voice softer, will be protected. She will be compensated. And if anyone connected to Vale Meridian attempts retaliation, I will personally fund the prosecution until the end of time. The stream ended. Keisha sat shaking. Marisol put a hand on her shoulder. You just helped bring down a billionaire's empire, Marisol said quietly. Keisha swallowed. I didn't want an empire, she whispered. I just didn't want to die. 2 weeks later, Keisha stood outside her flat with a suitcase, not because she was moving permanently, because Priya insisted she lay low until arrests settled. A car pulled up, not a Cadillac line, not a convoy, just one vehicle. Adrian stepped out. He looked different, still tired, still sharp, but lighter, like he could breathe. Keisha tensed. Adrian held up his hand slightly. I'm not here to overwhelm you, he said. I needed to see you. Keisha stared at him. You put my name on a live stream, she said. Adrian nodded. I did. Keisha's voice was tight. That put a target on me. Adrian's eyes held hers. I know, he said, and I won't pretend that was harmless. Keisha crossed her arms. Then why do it? Adrian's voice was steady. Because people like my brother survive by keeping people like you invisible, he said. I wanted the world to know who actually saved me. Keisha swallowed, eyes burning. Adrian took a step closer, stopping at a respectful distance. I also did it, he added softly, because I couldn't live with the idea that you'd be erased from your own story. Keisha looked away. Her throat tightened. Why are you here? She asked. Adrian's jaw flexed slightly, like he was nervous. Because I owe you more than money, he said, and because I don't want this to end as a headline. Keisha stared at him. You're a billionaire, she said. Your life is headlines. Adrian smiled faintly. Not this part, he said. This part is just me. Keisha's eyes narrowed. And what is just you asking for? Adrian exhaled. One coffee, he said. One conversation, no cameras, no plans, no favors. Keisha stared. Then she laughed once, soft and disbelieving. You're really asking a woman you nearly got killed to go for coffee. Adrian nodded. Yes, he said, because I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to be honest. Keisha held his gaze for a long time. Then she said quietly, If you lie to me, I'm gone. Adrian nodded immediately. Fair, he said. Keisha picked up her suitcase again. Coffee, she said. Adrian's face softened. Coffee, he repeated. And as they walked toward the car together, Keisha realized something that surprised her. Sometimes love didn't start with fireworks. Sometimes it started with someone finally seeing you and deciding you were worth protecting in daylight. If you believe doing the right thing matters, even when it's dangerous, type truth in the comments. And if you'd have helped Adrian too, share this story with someone who needs hope.